What do you want to be when you grow up?
Kind. Isn't it odd? We can only see our outsides, but nearly everything happens on the inside. What's the bravest thing you've ever said?
Help. Asking for help isn't giving up. It's refusing to give up.
I think you believe in me more than I do.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Best of Me podcast. My name is Samora Mangesi, and it's an absolute pleasure to sit here and have these conversations with you. Now, every single week, I bring on someone who is an extension of a conversation that has probably happened in my own personal life, a conversation that has probably happened with them or someone else, in order for us to widen the net in terms of how we go about the conversation and for it to reach more and more people. Today, I've brought on someone who has been an integral part in shaping the way that I think currently, who's been an integral part in shaping the way that I move, and also an integral part in shaping the way that this platform has come about. He is a personal friend, also someone that I admire extremely in terms of the work that they do. His name is Likho Bottoman. And he is the Director of Social Cohesion and Equity at the Department of Basic Education.
Hey, it's a good thing you're saying all of these things whilst I'm still alive.
You're still alive.
So it's not like you will be claiming when I'm dead.
And as soon as we put my statement, so sitting dog hey, this has happened to Village and the catalepis.
An integral part of the way you think and the way you move.
Absolutely.
That's humbling. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. First of all, you are an ancestor. Sobriety. I believe it's been 10 years.
10 years of sobriety, yes. So that makes me an ancestor, eh?
Yes.
Yeah, 10 years.
So, as someone who's been sober for 10 years, what is your poison currently?
So, I would have said that I want to be inclined towards Savannah non-alcoholic, right?
I know that.
Savannah non-alcoholic, but because I'm diabetic,
yes. So
I now move with sparkling water.
Sparkling water, okay. Let's see. Oops. It's okay. Ingawisi izinto zalapha. Nope. There you go. If I'm a Kali ice guy, I'm going to color plastic.
So there's sparkling water. That's good.
There you go.
And did you see what is written here? It says, together, let's beat diabetes. Oh. Yes. Aquel. It says, together, let's beat diabetes. So it's a diabetic friendly drink.
Yes.
So if you're like me, if you used to enjoy the first Savannah, and that's the one you down.
Ngikhumbula ngoba ense airport ndisuke emonti ndisiza beJoburg and ndiyaleqa ke mos because nale bag enkulu kufuneka ndiyoyichecka in ndifike ndiyichecke in le bag and then I go upstairs phana kule airport yasemonti xa ndifika phaya ndithi sisi ndicela ndiphe isavana non-alcoholic uthi why non-alcoholic ndithi come khandiphe ne-shot ye-lime cordial ndithi ndifuna nje ukuhlisa le nto jonga look at your face as you drink that.
Yo, Samora. Ichokolanda. Uyabona, anyone who invented sparkling water was not Tina, the non-alcoholic persons was not because inhala effect. Yeah, inhala effect. So when you want to maybe start a journey of, stopping drinking or just reducing your drinking, this is the drink to have.
Now, Likho, a lot of the time when we ask people what is your poison, they shrug it off and answer what it is that they drink. However, if we look at poison is something that eats you up from the inside. You ingest it eats you up from the inside. And a lot of the time, that is what is happening with things that we are dealing with. things that weigh heavily on our shoulders, weigh heavily on our hearts, weigh heavily on our minds. So with that said, I'll ask you again, what's your poison?
Whew. Well, if you're talking about poison from that angle, I think, Samora, and it's so funny because I've just been thinking about it like 2 days ago, and I didn't know that you're going to ask me this. And I realized that I'm actually a workaholic.
I know this.
Oh, you know this,
I know
right?
this.
I'm actually a workaholic. I mean, we've got 52 weekends in a year.
Yeah.
And you have no idea how many weekends in that year that I'm actually working. And I'm not supposed to be working on weekends. But I think there's a couple of, maybe a combination of reasons for that. One, some of the programs that we run in the department require us to engage with children. And what we don't want to do is to take children out of class and use their tuition time to do these programs. And so most of the time you'll find that we are working on weekends because that's the only time we can have them, because after school, again, they're rushing for their transport. And if you keep them for too long, they will miss their transport. And how are they going to get home?
Exactly.
That's the first part. But the second part is that I don't have boundaries then. Because of that, I can work at night, I can work on weekends, I can work even on my own leave days. So if you're asking then poison, in that sense, the things that eat us up inside, but you see, like poison, alcohol, people enjoy it at that moment.
Yes.
But it has
the effect.
Yeah, the effect. So I think it's the same thing. I'm enjoying the work that I do, but I can see what it does in my life, that it is the one and only thing that occupies my time.
And it's impactful work, but you work with kids, right? Primarily, I always say, especially when we talk about the type of work that you do, that your primary client is the young people of South Africa.
Yes.
However, you have 2 young people in your own life, in your own home.
Yes.
And now going out there, I understand that part of it is shaping the world for them. But when you work that much, does it not then leave the ones that you leave at home wanting for the affection and the time with the dad?
Many years ago, when I invited my mom to come and live with me,
yes,
everyone was like, she's going to cramp your lifestyle. She's going to suffocate you in your house. You're not going to be free to do the things you want to do. But I really invited my mother at the time. I had no plans of having children.
Yeah.
I just invited my mother because I thought that all our lives we've always lived together. And that separation between university and my initial years of work felt like great separation for me as well. So I needed her around. And I also thought that it would be better for her to come and live with me so that I can take care of her better at the time. And so then she lived with me, and we lived for a number of years without me having children. And when I had children, it then yanceda into yobana kubekho umama wam in the house, because she's really playing a pivotal role in the upbringing of my children. I travel a lot, as you say. I'm always not at home, and when I'm at home, of course, I bond with them. I spend time with them, and they feel that in the corner. But I think my mom has been very helpful, and my sister then joined us as well. So they've got 2 matriarchs there.
And a lot of our upbringings as young people, sorry, I'm looking for something here, and now I don't know, Andy, but a lot of our upbringings, there we go. A lot of our upbringings as and ndiqonde into yobana kuba ndise ngumntana nam at heart mandithi nje milkshake nyana uyabo so a lot of our upbringings, Tina, were also very matriarchal and in shaping who we've become and and who we are to society. So kudos to your mom and your sister. When we speak about the kids, are the kids all right? Not your kids, the kids, the country.
The country. Yo, Samora, the kids are not all right. And I think that there is something that has happened over decades in our country that give children an experience of not being all right.
Yeah.
They are not all right in the sense that the moment we experienced HIV and AIDS pandemic, then we saw a lot of children becoming orphaned,
Yes.
becoming displaced, going to live with that person,
And also having child-headed households.
and also having child-headed households. Yes, you're correct. And if they happen to be moved elsewhere or to be, relocated for whatever reason, then they get abused in those families because they are not primary members of those families. I mean, this is not taking away from people who really took care of children, of their relatives, and they did an incredible job. But unfortunately, we still have a lot of children who have had to go through experiences of abuse and neglect and exploitation because of that. But ke ngo-2020 mntana sekhaya kwafika COVID. And the research that we engage with when we work with children is saying that the number of orphans in our country have tripled as a result of COVID-19. So COVID-19, within a short space of a year, yenza umsebenzi wipe out parents zabantwana i-HIV okanye AIDS ewenze ngeminyaka. So it was devastating. So we've got a lot of children now who are orphaned. I also think that the situation of children in our country has worsened in the sense that children are now presenting with a different set of challenges, a different complexion and shape of challenges that our parents didn't,
Have to face,
And I was on the radio on Friday, and we're talking about this thing of bullying in schools and all of those things. Do you know how many parents called in that night saying that the problem ka government wethu is that sithi makuthethwe nabantwana akuthethwa nabantwana?
Okay.
But haya akuthethwa nabantwana, abantwana funeka bangene emgceni, you just tell them what to do. Abanye bathi bring back because nisibambile, kaninyanyiseni sizokwazi ubabetha. And I'm saying to them, into yobetha abantu corporal punishment into ye-apartheid. In apartheid wena Samora lento because kwakubethwa abantu for babafakwe emgceni.
Yes.
And so now we're saying that we don't have to do that anymore. We can negotiate, we can discipline in different ways. That's the one part when I say children are not all right. But on the other side, I'm actually saying that children are actually going to be okay because of the work that we do now with them. Because the empowering and empowerment work that we do with children right now, ubonile nawe as you are moving with me in the different spaces. Both of us were saying that we wish we were kids now so that we can receive all of this.
Yeah. I think the landscape that you guys are creating currently is really one that is going to help shape the future of Mzansi Africa. Children experienced a lot of trauma in the things that you've mentioned. And we sometimes neglect to acknowledge the fact that that trauma is going to be carried into the school. How does a trauma at home manifest itself in the education system, at the schools, and how the children show up every morning at 7:30?
You know, Samora, the only word I will use for it is that it is disruptive. It is disruptive because the moment the child displays behavioral patterns that indicate to us that this child is displaying or demonstrating a trauma response, it means then that isikolo siyama, iklasi siyama, utishara now is challenged.
Yes.
Bakufuneka akwazi ukuthi acontain lo mntana, amanage lo mntana, amanage ne-behavior yakhe mhlawumbi ezawu-actor out le trauma yakhe kwabanye abantwana and stuff. It is very disruptive. It is also disruptive to the child oza ne-trauma ngoba ufika ene ill behavior esikolweni. Sekufanele ukuthi lo mntana angene kwi-disciplinary hearings, sekufanele ukuthi lo mntana asuspendwe, sometimes in severe cases expel no expel umntana, sekufanele ukuthi afunelwe esinye isikolo kwenye indawo. Iyayibona nje ukuthi i-disruptive kuye wonke umuntu o-involved. Umzali funeka asuke emsebenzini azoya lento yalo mntana, and then SGB, uyabona, it's very disruptive. And unfortunately, because it shows itself differently for every child, you can never say that we've got a one-size-fits-all approach to addressing the behavior issues abantwana beza nazo, particularly traumatized. But I think what the current system has done was to help us understand that abantwana are not just objects of learning and teaching.
Yes.
You've got to understand where they come from. You've got to understand their identity so that you understand why they behave the way that they do.
A lot of the time, the behavior is a symptom, and ibalulekile la sensitization to be able to notice the symptom so that we can interrogate what the cause might actually be. There are multiple things that affect situations at home. And I think in the context of this podcast, it's important for us to delve into homes that are broken, homes that are centered around substance use and abuse, which then, of course, also exacerbates GBV within the home. How does that affect umdana and their behavior and also their learning ability? Because we're bringing abantwana who are coming from different backgrounds. Omnye is coming from a very peaceful home, 2 parents, a dog, white picket fence. And you'll find that in the same school, there's umdana ohlala egaleni, nabazali abaphuma every single night, bayonxila, baphinde babuye, babethane kwalapha endlini.
Hey.
So, yeah, how do we then balance those scales?
Samora, the assumption that we all make as society is that children's homes are supposed to be the safest places. But hey, our homes are unsafe for our children.
Yeah.
Research is saying that actually most children who are bullied, they are bullied first by their parents. And so there's a call out there now that says, watch out so that you are not the first bully of your child. Because abantwana ba experiences zinto from home. In fact, during COVID-19 lockdown, the worst thing that we did for children in this country was to keep them at home and not bring them. By the time Minister Njimutsecha decided that they must come home, when everyone was fighting ukuthi nibasapha abantwana bazawusigulisa bazawugula abantu bazaba ne-COVID yabe sithi research wethu ayibenzi into le-COVID abantwana iyangena iphinde iphume wathi mababuyele esikolweni. It was unpopular for him to say that. But do you know that kanti sikhulula abantwana ngoba they had been locked in with their perpetrators of sexual abuse at home every day, all the hours. And remember, ordinarily the perpetrator is at work or the child is at school. So at least they only have a few hours with the perpetrator. Now, every minute they were sitting with the perpetrator. The perpetrator is not at work, he's here at home. So he has all the time in the world to do whatever they want to do with the children. And we received a spike in the reporting of sexual abuse and harassment and GBV during that time. Also women who were, experiencing intimate partner violence. It was worsening during COVID-19 lockdown.
Also, I mean, the worst thing for these stats, I would say, I don't want to call it boredom, but that's why you will find in certain areas where people don't have anything to do that you have the high numbers, that you have the first of all, the
yes,
you have the drinking problems, you have the GBV. So I can understand that 100%.
Yeah, not having anything to do. So kwabanzima for South African children during COVID-19 lockdown. It was really hard. And I wish there was a way that we could erase those experiences in their memories, because we know that childhood traumatic experiences do shape what the person is going to be, especially if they don't get intervention and support to deal directly with those issues. And so whilst we say that children are going to be all right, we also then want to say that maybe there's a greater requirement for us to place emphasis on mental health for children. It was never done with us, or if it was done superficially.
Yes.
I think that we need to go deeper with these children, because they've seen it all, manabandwan.
So we speak of perpetrators within the home. However, we also know, and I think of late there have been cries and calls on social media about specifically the Eastern Cape. I remember that we had an engagement about this just over the phone, and I'd sent you some videos that I'd seen and stuff. How are we protecting kids from perpetrators in the schools?
Hey, that's another one. Uyazilanda ukuthi uvala ngapha.
Faka nangeenyawo, vala nangeenyawo.
Uvala nangemuva. Hey, yabona leyo yona isothusile, because we thought that otishara must bane code of conduct, code of ethics, and then izinto about protocols relating to sexual misconduct and stuff. So sivene notishara ukuthi not only with children at your school, but with any school child, you can't have a sexual relationship with those children. And so it is regarded as statutory rape. It is regarded as sexual abuse if you do that. Siyavana, siyasigna, no signa, treaties with okay, fine. Asizoyenza lento singotishara. But when it happens and when it's reported in this way, it therefore means that otishara, they need to be taken to account.
Absolutely.
Yes, they need to be taken to account. And that's why abantwana bayireport island maba continue to report, because we really need to stomp it out of our schools, including corporal punishment. Kusekwizikolo kuthiwa nangoku namhlanje abantwana basabethwa bathi bazoyeka corporal punishment, and kuyaziwa. And apha ibuhlungu khona is that our parents who are supposed to be safeguarding the children, who are supposed to be, your gatekeepers for children, are actually allowing this to happen. Yabona, like was a case of Eastern Cape, some parents knew, and when some teachers wanted to take action against their own peers and colleagues about this, some parents have actually come to intercept the process. Yes, and in some cases, of course, akwenzwanga anything, abantwana bathreatenishiwe, families threatenishiwe and stuff like that. For me, the sore point is the fact that kukho parents ezithi sanuyenza right mayingenziwa. Nangapha khonye indawo kuthiwa kusema-Raceback e-Western Cape, kuthiwa kwakhiwa phaya i-plant ye-electricity, alternative electricity ntondoni yaqonda. So kufika ezi-engineers nezi-technical people. Uyazi uba kukho i-parents ezithi phumani, naba abantu abanodibana naba bantu niyokwenza imali, phumani. So uthi xa ubuyela endlini ubuye ungaphethanga nto ngomntana, kuthiwa awukwazi, kugcwele amadoda kangaka kulaa project yenzekayo pha, go hamba mbozama. Ema-Raceback e-Western Cape, it was reported to us, and I know that the Western Cape government is doing something about it, because inzima xa izawuba yinto.
Let's also from the parents.
Inzima kakhulu. But the long and short of it, Samora, is that zonke ezitishara zifunyanwa zenza lento, funeka zi-account, funeka begxothiwe abo bantu, funeka abo bantu bethathwe lezo license, and into emnandi into
babanjwe abo bantu abo, because it is a criminal offense.
Criminal offense. And so thana nento eyi-one ukuthi i-unions zabo zithi singakumela thina siyi-union for anything, but the moment kuthiwa sexual abuse, uyazi ukuthi siyomamela i-case yakho, but asizokwazi ukukudefenda.
Yes,
I think that's responsible leadership.
Exactly. That is very responsible leadership. Okay, so there was one conversation that I was privy to where, and I think this was the perfect analogy that you made, where you said, so when we speak about see something, say something, right? You cannot be a person who is knowledgeable of sexual abuse against umdana and not say anything. And you made an example about rural areas and why ixoxwa kanjani lando, you know, and kuvele ukuthi ehlawula into ethile like ukuthi hayi ubani makahlawule nje igusha, and then it's swept under the carpet and it moves on. How are we dealing with that?
So through the GBV, kunesi structure sa GBV salapha kule country, it's just that I forgot what it is now, some steering committee, whatever. One of the things we have established was to work with the House of Traditional Leaders.
Yes.
Yeah, because we realized that, remember, that's how they mediate issues in the rural areas, in the rural villages. Kuyabizwa imbizo, kubizwa amadoda omkhandlu, kubizwe umkhanelwa, kubizwe ne-victim, kuxoxwe, because they are coming from a peace building perspective. Yabon? So for peace sake, when ahlawula lona iphelile lento uyivalile. So we needed to then take them through the ropes to understand the space of gender-based violence and femicide and sexual offenses, and why it's important for them to involve law enforcement.
Yes.
Yeah, because they would hold it by themselves and they would run with it. But at least now there are capacity building programs that work particularly in traditional and rural villages in the country to upskill them, to empower them about how to preside on sexual abuse. Cases.
Likho, abantwana baya experimenta, and we've all experimented, right? But we have an issue with abantwana abaselayo. We have an issue of abantwana abachayi drugs.
Hey.
And bayenze kwasesikolweni. What do you think is the catalyst for that? What do you think is informing that behavior in abantwana, and especially within the schooling environment?
You know, recently I was in the Western Cape and I was collecting data for my PhDs.
Yes! Babeniyazi indlela emstressa ngayo le PhD and fonele close to tears.
Andiyifuni le PhD, ifunwa yikhanda. Ayoyam. Yeah, because you know, I'm excited about that PhD because I'm an occupational therapist by profession, and then I did my master's in inclusive education, and now this PhD is in educational psychology. So that combination, I think it is going to give me the skills that I need to continue to do the work that I do. So in the Western Cape, when we collect this data, schools are saying to us that most of the time, the children who are experimenting with alcohol and drugs are actually experimenting outside of the school.
Okay.
And then they come into the school intoxicated. And sometimes they are not using these substances, but somebody gives them to come and sell them at school. And then when they are sold at school, some of them then can't wait, you know, to be out of school. They use them. At some point on a particular day when I was collecting this data, I was speaking to a teacher, and then the teacher is asked to leave the interview session because there's a crisis at the school toilets. He goes and then he comes back and then he says, no, I found a child lying there intoxicated because he had just sniffed on drugs in the school toilets. Now, abantwana Samora are not making the drugs themselves.
Of course.
And they are not making the drugs available to them. So, zikoni adults that exploit the innocence of our children by introducing them to the substance, by also giving them the substances to go and sell. I know that kulanjiwe, you know, and I know that abantu bafuna ukuphila and stuff, but I think we're going a bit too low if we're going to be able to give a stack of drugs to a child to go and sell at school.
How many of these people that are giving these drugs to these kids are parents themselves? Do you know, like, when you think about it and you're just like, so how would you feel if this was being done to your child?
And I don't think they really mind, because I hear that in other families, they always say, "Hi, wena, when I don't use it, but you can sell it if ngumntana wethu, right? But ultimately, ngenxa ye-frustration and distress, lo mntana will end up using these drugs. And I think they expect it. It's going to happen. But I think people are more concerned about the immediate gratification of the money that is brought in by the drugs more than what it does to the lives of children, the ones who are selling and the ones who are using. Because both these children are actually harmed for good for being involved in drugs.
Now, there are so many things that kind of play into where I'm moving next. We've spoken about sexual abuse. We've spoken about alcohol and drug use. You will find that abantwana are abused sexually, and then they are left with chronic STDs. And then we get to school. Maybe through that trauma, umntana starts using drugs or whatever. And there was a thing now recently, I think I had sent you something a couple of months ago, PPC, where we were speaking about hotspotting and Bluetoothing.
Yes, I remember that one.
Yes. So now we've got an even bigger problem because if you can just explain what hotspotting and Bluetoothing is, and then the problems that then fall under that and what it could actually lead to.
Yeah. Yes, that hotspotting thing, I was hearing about it for the first time. And are they saying that it is happening in South African schools as well?
So when I engaged an educator friend of mine who is a deputy principal at a school here in Joburg, he was like, oh no, that's been happening here. So in the article, they were speaking about Lesotho specifically, and I think it's just rife there. However, at the end of the day, if it's happening there, it's only a matter of time.
Before it crosses
the border.
Yeah. So that hotspotting thing, if I still remember very well, I smoke or I inject drugs, and then we run out of drugs. So I take my blood that has got drugs in the bloodstream, and then I inject it on you.
Yes.
So that you can also be high.
Be high.
Ayisebuhlungu lento ibalisayo. Fanele ukuthi undibonisile leya into.
Funeka ndikuprepare kaloku because at the end of the day that thing is going to come across your desk. As soon as it's an issue for us in South Africa, and you need to be prepared for it. Because as your friend, if I do not see something and say, yay, there's this thing that might be coming,
you see now where we are, and maybe it's an irresponsible comment to make, but I'm thinking blood with drugs or drugs. But kuyafana because then the people who use drugs are using needles, right? And sometimes there's
needle sharing.
Yes, needle sharing and all of that. But I like what the South African National AIDS Council has done. You know, they have identified what they call key populations.
Okay.
So as key populations are people who are most at risk of STIs and HIV infection. So amongst them are sex workers.
Yes.
And then we've got the LGBTQI community. And we also then have people who inject drugs.
Yeah.
Right. And they do intentional work with these communities because, look, these are populations, they live among us in society, and unfortunately, even if you do, you can't wish them away. But the best thing you can do is to give them the knowledge that they need to.
And the tools.
And the tools so that they can protect themselves from HIV infection and other infections. Do you know what I mean? Because, for example, like with the LGBTQI children, it's something as simple as we've been teaching about comprehensive sexuality education right in schools. That's fine for many years. But the LGBTQI child has not been relating because the information is given in a heteronormative sense. And so this child who is not of heterosexual identity is listening to this information and is thinking, how do I apply it in my own context so that I can also then be protected? And that's how they become vulnerable. And so, hey, umsebenzi mninzi, guys. I think they'll retire. It's
so weird because when you were talking about a PhD, in my mind, then I did the quick maths, no matter how long until you retire, because I'm like, how many years do we have with Likho to do this work? Because this is very important. Very important.
And I'll retire at 50, so in 10 years.
You're not going to retire at 50. I can tell you that now. You are not going to retire at 50. You're way too passionate about what you do. And they say this to you all the time.
Hey.
So another thing, Likho, that kind of plays a part is culture. Culturally, we have certain customs, and those customs also play a part in our schooling experience. I remember there was this one time, there was a case or an incident where a parent wanted to take the child out of the school for them to go to initiation, and the school wasn't really for it. But now I want to speak about coming back from initiation. Mando look at 17, go June 2010, ngela xesha le World Cup. I'm in grade 11 at the time.
So
afterwards.
Okay.
And of course, there are certain things that are then done or that are expected as a community of new initiates. Whether it's after school, and all of those things, and those things then
yes,
and it's introducing a certain culture to school children. Now there are kids in corners wearing uniform, taking bottles of alcohol out of bags to fulfill this obligation that they now have, which they consider to be a cultural obligation because that is what they're told. How do we then mitigate that? Because we can't say, Abandana must not go and exercise their cultural right.
Yes.
But then how do we balance it with keeping the sanctity of educating Abandwana and keeping them on the straight and narrow, at least up until they are done with imatric?
Yeah. I think the rise of Oputi, Abasit, because see, like initiation and stuff, and you're thinking about it in the way that you're thinking. This rise of a new cadre and a new cohort of men that are going to be safekeepers of the culture and the tradition is probably our saving grace. Because you can't have this conversation with someone who's already in it. With someone who's, because what are you trying to do now? You're trying to dilute the tradition and all of those things. But tina sabango tata, I think sizakwazi influencer culture and the shape that it takes with our children. Because this is something that needs us to open up the spaces of engagement in those cultural and traditional communities. Uguti, man, how do we do this? I think we've managed to do it with the abuse yabantwana when they are there.
Yes.
Sikwazile, because awusava man ngoku ngobana umntana wa abuse, umntana wa xhatshazwa esehlathini. But that used to be very prominent before. And I think that we can do this even with alcoholism, even with gender inequality, even with, the male dominance in society for women and children. Because siphuma uyayazi lento Samora ukuthi siphuma pha uxele into bana akho mfazi uzokuxelela what to do and what to say. But you know what that does? It does not only affect you at home. Nasemsebenzini uzoba ne problem yophathwa ngumfazi. We understand noku instructwa ngumfazi nokuthobela I authority yomfazi. Uyabona, because indoctrinate into bana uyazi ke into bana nje bayindoda nje into bana omama uyabona indawo yabo and stuff. So you will struggle in life unless we help these children by opening up those spaces there where they are, so that babon ukuthi we're not diluting anything, but we're trying to shape up a new era of men who are not going to have these issues.
So essentially it's up to a man of this day and age to step up and shape up, and to also then influence the next generation.
Yes. But also, we must not forget the power of child and youth agency.
Yes.
Because yes, amahrotman can help us with this just too. Yabon. But na babantwana banikezwe the knowledge and the understanding ukuthi they can actually shape up a new narrative of manhood and masculinity. Yabon. And it doesn't have to be attributed to alcohol and promiscuity and violence and aggression and all of those things. Siyathetha nabo, for example, yabona recently kuye kwaphuma into ethi kwathiwa ke we're overstepping the boundary as government.
Hlala kusitshiwo ke nina.
Singenaphi kwinto zolwaluko labantwana. But besisithi, for example, Samora, one, if uyazazi into yobana unomntana ozayokoluka, hamba ngomreport esikolweni ukuthi lo mntana uzakoluka.
Yes.
Two, xa ebuya lo mntana elwalukeni, make sure into yobana uyabuyela esikolweni, because many of them drop out once babe ngamadoda benalanto ethi umntana ayi sendiyindoda ngoku I don't have
into so ohlala eklasini
namakhwenkwe uyabona. But make sure into yobana uyabuyela lo mntana eklasini. Three, it make sure into yobana njengoba ephaya ungafami out irresponsibility ye care for your child. Iyaphaya umane uyochekisha ukuthi umntana akho uphila kanjani.
Very important.
You don't want to only discover later about their exploitation and abuse whilst they're there. Four, siyacela kwezi zinto ke zo exercise or cultural rights zakho ukuthi ingaphazamisa isikolo. Uyabona? So abantwana bangoku thina ke okay, well, do look up way earlier than you, if that was 2010. Yeah, but during our time, wawusithi jonga ngaphandle fesrenanga yamaqwala alapha esikolweni apha siseklasini siyafunda thina. Uyabona? Naba yabona estratweni. So sithi ke ukuba okay, fine, do lento yenu okudibana nengamakrwala nenze izinto zenu, but can you try not to do it during school hours? And I think increasingly abantwana are picking up on that and they are taking that responsibility ngoba asisayiva ngokuncam kusithiwa it's disrupting schooling. So at least bayayazi ukuthi it's not supposed to. But ke ngoku, think about it this way, Samora. Aba bebephuma baphi namhlanje? Uyabona? So umuntu uzandijonga mina xa ndibuyele emdantsane ndibuya ndihamba ngemoto yam ndiyasebenza.
Wama nge-Black Mamba.
Yeah, understand chom.
Isiqada ngesiphefumulela phezulu esi.
You understand? Alibale into bana zange ndiphume mna. Uyabona decide ukuhlala. Anyway ke ndandimncinci because mna ndoluke ndise university.
Okay.
And tormentation and ayifumanayo ngosensoluka sense university yabona, because I was young and then kukho amadoda sengamadoda. Oh, ndandibizwa all the time. But I'm very grateful for all of that because I understood that the only way that I was going to survive that kind of tormentation and the homophobia that I was experiencing was ukuthi ndifunde.
Yes.
Kwatsho imisi yam ye-English because sasibhala journals and I used to write a lot about the trauma that I was experiencing, you know, as a diverse boy at school. And I was always the youngest. I mean, I was at school at 4, 5. I was in matric at 16 and all of that. So when you're younger, we know that you are prone to bullying and abuse at school and stuff. So I used to write about that. Senze journal entries. Wow, mdibiza la miss what la miss him mntana sekhaya. Ndicela ukuxelela one thing mina ntobana andikwazi ukuprotecta from your bullies. Andikwazi nokuthi maba accept and stuff. Ndicela ufunde. Watch. What Mrs. Behadin, ndicela ufunde, funda.
Yeah.
Because once wafunda, you'll be untouchable. As a result, you know what happened? Kweza traditional spaces ekhaya emdantsane. Abafana abalingana na andikwazi uhlala nabo. Amakhwenkwe of course andikwazi uhlala nabo because sendiyindoda. Ithini into? Ndifakwa phaa emaxhegweni. Yes, la honorary hlutlo utsho hayi uhlala pha emaxhe ndihlala namaxhego buhlanti because kaloku ngabo ngokwintanga zam andilungi endlini yesibani uyabona andilungi naphi iintanga zam nazi azipha kodata asixoxi pha we are running the country.
Oh yes, I think the work that you do is so blessed, and it is something that found you because it needed you to be at the helm of that directorate.
You? That's in the
Minister? I was born minister. Hayi ungaphenduli kube ungafuna usiviwa feel some type of way. Ayibukele.
No, because you see they get deployed by political organizations.
But kaloku at some point ibalekile lento bana siyeke nalonto leyo yekuba political. Ibe yinto yokubana actually this is, and we're not saying that our current minister or our previous ministers were not right for the job. However, sometimes we ask us actually what has this person been doing and what could they do if we were to give them this scope outside of it being political, but it being through experience and through education.
I'll tell you, my friend, I have observed ministers. I've lived through multiple administrations.
Yes.
Join education when it was still Minister Naledi Pando. Wapuma Naledi Pando kwangena Minister Enjimutsecha.
Shoot my wig.
Yes. And Bobabin, they had the same deputy minister, Deputy Minister Envasurti, and then Wasuku Deputy Minister Envasurti at some point kwi reign ka Mamu Enjimutsecha kwangena Dr. Regina Mhaule, and then wahlala Dr. Regina Mhaule wasuku Mamu Enjimutsecha kwangena Minister Siviwe Kwakubi. And I've worked closely with all of them.
Yes.
And there's one thing I'm going to tell you. Because of my proximity to ministers, I realized that responsibility is too huge.
Yes. You can't handle it.
I know that I can't. In fact, I think all these men and women are courageous to even accept
Very true.
their responsibility in
Very
education.
true.
Yeah, but it is so courageous.
Because no matter what you do, you will never be right. Never be right.
If only they knew ukuthi akana weekend lo mntana abantu akana uyazi uyasebenza kuyasetshenzwa pha, and it's much more complex. I know that you are probably exposed to my piece of work.
Yes.
Maybe for my piece of work I could be an advisor to the minister for just this piece, because remember kuko no teacher development by engabaziyo, kuko no curriculum engazaziyo, kuko no infrastructure engabaziyo. It's the portfolio is bigger than it seems. But for my piece,
I feel like when the excuses because you have studied, you have learned, there are things you could learn.
Hey, hi sana.
And you're still young enough to learn.
Hi, the campaign yako, ka minister.
Iqale up.
Iyapasa.
Iqale up and
Hayi ke shemke. In that case, if kungaweza kubekho ipresident engaze ithi hey kukho umuntu ekuthiwa nguLikho Bottoman ohlala somewhere osele mdala masimlande azoba dingayi accept lo responsibility.
Okay. I love that we're putting that out to the universe. I love that there's a willingness, because when I first brought the topic up, you were very adamant against it, but now we got to Kononoko in So we are going to have to close this now. So it's a better pleasure.
Before we close, I've got a surprise for you. And I need to show this. Mamela ke chomi yam.
Imalo ke Mike.
Sorry, Mamela chomi yam. Do I not then get insight, Bamba chomi yam? Do I not get inside? Pick and Pay. And I find this thing, it's called abstinence. It's a premium distilled botanical spirit.
Yes.
And what I like about it is that it's a spirit, but it's 0.0% alcohol volume. But also the nice thing about it is that it has got zero sugar.
Oh.
Ikona ene sugar.
Yes.
But unandatata the zero sugar option. So that I'm gonna bring these bottles. Choose the one that you like, and this is taste zombie, so that can go. Uthathe the one when oyifunayo. Zikhona options is a sobriety.
Zikhona options is sobriety.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think actually, you know what? Kuba sasibethwa ixesha asizuzitaster ngoku apha and again. Oko wawuthe uzandimema kwakho ndizotya umleqwa. So I think we're going to save them for that time.
For that time, okay.
And then we'll definitely do that. But thank you so much for being here.
Okay.
Thank you so much for making the time, and also thank you so much for continuing to do the work that you do. I think abantu abaninzi bazawubenefita kakhulu, not only from the work that you do, but also you availing yourself to be here and have this conversation with us.
Thank you so much for having me. At some point, I even forgot that you are my friend.
With that said, it's time for us to close it off. Thank you so much to everybody who has watched. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Also, click on the notification bell in order for you to be able to get all the notifications when we upload every single Wednesday. Also, follow us across the board on all social media platforms at The Best of Me or at The Best of Me Pod. You can find me on @Samora_Mangesi. For people who want to engage your directorate in terms of issues zabantwana,
Mabanbambe uthi unapha ku Facebook nzaba redirect.
Okay. With that said, we'll see you at the next one. Bye-bye.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Kind. I think you believe in me more than I do.